And for more, we bring in CBS Sports combat analyst Brian Campbell. And Brian, when you watch this fight, what went through your mind, especially in that last round, where you thought maybe Leon Edwards, with that nasty elbow, could have pushed him over the top, but instead, it's Belal Muhammad taking down the champ?
Look, for a second, it looked like shades of how Leon Edwards won this title with that fifth-round rally against Kamaru Usman, but that guy wasn't showing up. So what was my immediate thought when this was happening? Boy, was I wrong. And that seems to be a theme that a lot on social media are dealing with right now, because out of any championship contender in recent years, very, very few gave Belal Muhammad an opportunity, a belief that he would go out and do exactly what he just did, exactly what he said he would do, go in there against one of the pound-for-pound best fighters on the planet at age 36, and with a well-rounded game, but not a spectacular one, and just grind out and outwork the champion to get his hand raised. Remember, the name is an apropos nickname here because Belal Muhammad has been looked over throughout his entire run. Remember, he brought a 10-fight unbeaten streak into this fight, but repeatedly had to wait for his opportunity at the title. It was almost a perfect storm of events for him to even get this chance. But when given the chance, what did he do? Most importantly, he showed you that he has improved his game constantly. When these two fought the first time 3 years ago, we didn't get out of the second round due to an accidental eye poke. But what we saw in that fight was Leon Edwards absolutely dominate Muhammad on the feet. This time around, Muhammad was not only the better striker in terms of punches with that consistent jab, but the story of the fight was what he could do on the ground, holding Leon Edwards down, controlling him, and preventing that late rally, which did open up a cut in the final seconds. Too little, too late. Belal Muhammad, rightfully your new UFC champion.
So with all this glory and praise on Belal Muhammad right now, Brian, what is next for him?
Next for him is most likely a trip potentially the woodshed, in the idea of Shavkat Rakhmonov, the rising contender who everybody wants to see fight for that welterweight title. But notice what I did just there. It's almost as if I'm dismissing Belal Muhammad again. We certainly have to recalibrate the ceiling for this fighter. He became the first fighter in UFC history, the first male fighter to capture a world title at welterweight or below, above the age of 35. I mentioned he keeps getting better. It's going to be a tough out for anybody in this division because of his intangibles, his stamina, his wrestling ability, and how seamlessly he mixes his striking with his grappling game. Would I favor him against Shavkat Rakhmonov? That might be hard to do, but until we see Belal Muhammad lose with the title wrapped around his stomach, let's show him that respect that a lot of us has failed to give him. He went out there and did the job, and he's going to have that opportunity again to defend this title. Suddenly, this welterweight division flipped upside down on top of his head. But hey, that's the way we like it here in the fight game.
Absolutely. We love it. We love the unexpected, but not to be outdone by those two. We also had another rematch in the heavyweight division with Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blaydes. This time it's Aspinall defeating Blaydes by way of TKO in just a single minute. How shocked were you by what you saw there? Or maybe you weren't shocked.
No, I wasn't shocked because Aspinall has a 100% finishing rate as a professional despite 3 losses coming in. One of those losses came against Blaydes, his opponent on Saturday, just 2 years ago, but that fight lasted 15 seconds, and Aspinall badly injured his knee. What has he done since then? Returned to form, 3 straight knockouts. The second of those 3 got him the UFC interim heavyweight strap. The third was this rematch with Curtis Blaydes, and you mentioned it. 60 seconds in and out, it's over. Why? Because Tom Aspinall is the future of the heavyweight division. I call him heavyweight 2.0. He's got fast hands, fast feet, big-time power. He can handle himself on the ground. He's in his absolute prime and peak. We can call him the interim champion all we want, but those who know might believe what I do. He's the best heavyweight in the world. I know John Jones has the full title, but he'll be off for a full year by the time he finally returns in November to finally get that big fight against former champion Stipe Miocic, even though Miocic hasn't fought in 5 years. Really, what the UFC needs to do is put that pressure on John Jones to make that fight, because he's been teasing retirement of late. And we've only seen John Jones in one heavyweight fight when he mopped up on Cyril Gane in just a couple minutes, but Gane's lack of a ground game really was exposed. we don't really know who John Jones is at a heavyweight. We have to remind ourselves that. We've seen just one little sampling. What we do know is that Tom Aspinall is spectacular. Really no holes in his game, and you saw that on full display here on Saturday night.
So no holes in his game, and you saw him call out John Jones, say, I got nothing against you, but I just think I'm better than you. So how exactly do you think a fight between them would go? Because I know the UFC world, they would love that.
Oh, absolutely. They would love that. The question is, does John Jones want that? I mentioned that the tease of retirement. You never know when fighters do that. Is this more of a negotiation thing? Does Jones want to put that pressure on UFC to pay that man his money, so to speak? Either way, I do have to say this. John Jones is the greatest fighter in the history of the sport. He's a two-division champion. He's now 37, though, not an age we panic at when you consider we're talking about heavyweights. But if John Jones decides to walk away after never fighting Francis Ngannou, and if he sidesteps Tom Aspinall here, that'll certainly be some level of a stain on his record. Let's give him the opportunity first to fight Stipe Miocic in November, and if he wins that, we'll see what he says next. But I think this was the right call out from Tom Aspinall. He was respectful, but he also challenged Jones. This is the big fight to make. I know UFC doesn't necessarily love doing stadium fights, but whether it's Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas or pick any soccer stadium in the UK, the idea of John Jones versus Tom Aspinall, yeah, that's one of the biggest fights you can make in the history of the sport. I hope it gets done. I hope. You never know.
Right. It's always a chance that it doesn't happen, but I would be glued to my TV if we actually got that match. Now, for the lightweight division, you had King Green versus Paddy Pimblett. And Pimblett literally put Green to sleep, made him look like a peasant. What was your reaction to that?
Look, this is the breakthrough moment Paddy Pimblett has needed. Since he first arrived on the UFC shore, he was talked about as the next Conor McGregor from the standpoint of that flamboyant personality from that side of the pond. Since then, though, despite winning every fight, he hasn't really lived up to it. He's looked like more hype than substance. This was the challenge he needed at the right time, the right location, too, by the way, on UK soil for Paddy the Baddie to come out and show us what he's capable of. I think it's interesting to note that Paddy had a disastrous training camp, despite the great physical shape he came in, where he admitted afterwards that his team nearly pulled him from the fight due to depression and mental health challenges. This is where you have to give Paddy credit for really focusing in. He got the best of King Green on the feet, which nobody thought he would coming in the first fight of Paddy Pimblett's career, where he closed as the betting underdog. But like you mentioned, he went in there, it was almost no challenge, put the veteran Green to sleep, and made a big statement. He called out Renato Moicano afterwards. I don't think you can find any UFC fan who wouldn't love that fight. But I think more importantly, this is about Paddy Pimblett taking that big step forward toward stardom, toward title contention. I believe he will get a ranking next to his name for the first time in his career. Look, I don't know if he lives up to his potential, right? There's still holes in this game. But he needed this fight, this performance, and this night, and he got it.
Brian Campbell, we always appreciate your informative and very entertaining analysis on UFC Insight. Appreciate the time, man. And so here's the UFC 305 main card, Saturday, August 17th at 10 p.m. Eastern. And headlining this, Israel Adesanya in the middleweight title bout. And then you have some other great fights in the flyweight and the lightweight bout. Dan Hooker. All of it should be really jam-packed entertainment and a lot of chaos in the cage.